This is Synthesis TV, keeping you on the edge of technology and business.
A very good day to you. Welcome to Synthesis TV. I'm Howard Feldman, and today we're going to be looking at solutionists. Most people have absolutely no idea what it is. In fact, I'm not even really sure that I do. So let's try and figure this out. Tracy Morris is the head solutionist at Synthesis Software, and we wanted to just get a bit of an understanding, Tracy. What is this? What is a solutionist?
Okay, so depends what company you work for, but effectively a solutionist is a combination of a business analyst, a project manager, a scrum master, stakeholder engagement, customer success manager.
You're basically a mom.
Well, I am a mom, but yes, as a profession.
But I'm saying because that's one of those roles that actually have to do everything.
Everything, yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's amazing. So it is. Would it say it's most like a business analyst?
We started off as business analysts, so most people associate it to a business analyst because that's a concept they understand. So they go, oh, this is the business analyst team. Do you need a business analyst? But I'd say we are more people that bridge the gap in any area of your business. So we kind of interpreters as well. So that's what business analysts do. They interpret between business and technical. Make technical understand what the business means, make business understand what the technical means. So that's what they
But here it's a bit more because you're actually guiding, aren't you?
We guide.
In other words, when you're looking at the business, you're not just taking what they say and handing it to tech. You're working through it with them to design the business process, right?
Yeah, so to a large extent, yes. But I just want to add that, so from a synthesis perspective, they have very strong technical people who can do that themselves.
Okay.
They have the ability to articulate it clearly to business like in their own language, make them understand it, see the value. So from a solutionist team perspective, we normally go into a project, we look at what do they currently do, what is missing, what do they need from us? Do they just need someone with a strong EQ? Do they just need someone to do the administration? Do they need someone to have conversations for them to alleviate the stress, evaluate their health? There's a whole broader aspect of what we actually do from an organization.
It's interesting. I was just thinking while we're talking of a great marketing campaign, because effectively you're chameleons. You really are, because you actually have to change to the environment depending on the environment that you're finding. So you can't go in as one thing if that is the language of that actual company and that's not what they're looking for.
100%. It's like the way you put it, it sounds nice. First thing that came to my mind is we're a lot prettier than chameleons.
Excuse me, I've seen some very, very nice looking chameleons. But
I was just going to say.
Yeah, but to some extent you are. You're going in, you mentioned EQ. You've got to really understand the drivers of the business, the emotional side, the personalities involved, and the actual business. So you can't just go in and look at the business from a purely a distant position. You've got to really get inside it, and then you're going to take that information and work with the tech teams. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yes. So most business analysts are very analytical, very logical, very process orientated.
That's ridiculous.
That's why we're not business analysts.
Right. No, okay, I'm being facetious, but the reality is that it isn't always about. Sometimes the biggest drivers of the business, it can be an emotion, it can be many other factors. We're going to be talking to some of the other solutionists in this particular episode, hear what it is that they are doing, and getting a little bit of a broader sense of their purpose. Joining me in studio is Tinashe Katsande, who is a solutionist at Synthesis Software Technologies. And we wanted to talk about identifying challenges within companies and knowing when they need to be fixed and the value of addressing that. Tinashe, welcome.
Thank you very much, Howard. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. You've been at Synthesis for what, 6 years?
6 years, yes.
Wow. Yeah. Not always as a solutionist, right?
No. I started off as a software developer, then moved into a business development principle, and then became a CSM, and now I'm a solutionist.
All right. So your job is safe because you need to be able to talk the language of the business and then communicate it back. But it's not just about communication. It's actually about assisting a business to create solutions, workable solutions,
100%.
And practical solutions for them.
Exactly, and the processes that go into bringing those solutions to life. Yeah.
Okay, so take me through a process. What would happen? My business, I'm running whatever type of business it is, and I know that I could create greater efficiency, I could scale better, I could use my people different by relying on technologies. We come along to a solutionist, we come along to Tinashe and we say, help.
Yeah.
What is your process?
Okay, so the first thing to note is that, we don't have a solution offhand. We go through the process of finding the solution, and it's different for each
not one size fits all.
Exactly.
Okay.
So and this involves a process of engaging with the client and using certain methods to try and figure out what the root causes are and where the inefficiencies are and what would be a better way to then execute whatever it is they're trying to execute.
How much understanding do you need of their of the nuance of their business?
I'd say quite a lot, right? Because then if you don't understand their business, you are very likely going to try and implement a solution that doesn't work because of some intricacy that's hidden in the back somewhere that will make you not understand why it didn't work. Yeah.
How do you identify what their priorities are? Because it could be that you look at something and say, wow, this is a great one to fix, but actually that's not an area that they particularly want to focus on.
I see. So funny enough, we're having the story mapping training session the other day, and story mapping is one of the, I'd say, most powerful ways to do that, to get a visual picture of what it is that we're trying to address, right? And this is powerful because both of us are looking at this visual picture, and they can come in and say, no, this is not what I meant, this is what I meant, and that kind of thing. And it helps us build almost an alignment of what it is.
So what is story mapping? How do you go through that process?
It's essentially like, I think back in the day it was called a real-time board, and that's a bit more meaningful. So now we've got a software called Miro, right? But essentially it's like a whiteboard in which you put up stickers or post-it stickers in a meaningful, arranged way, where we've got our objectives there, and then we've got perhaps maybe whatever problem we're trying to address and the different aspects of that problem. And if it's a system that we're building, we've got the different areas of that system and the features that go under each of those the aspects of that system. Yeah.
Interesting. When a client comes to you, have you found that they generally have already identified what they want to address and how, or do they come to you as a blank slate?
So it's different. In some instances, you've got clients that come with the solution. They know exactly what they want. They've gone through some process beforehand that they identified the problem, identified the solution, and now they just want us to come and build it. And in that case, as a solutionist, I'd come in and facilitate the building of that solution.
What happens if you don't think it's the best solution? That must happen. It
happens quite a lot, and we'll do our best to highlight, to communicate that, look, have you considered A, B, C, D? And sometimes, it doesn't always work out. They might not see it that way, but our job is to communicate and say, okay, there's A, B, C, D, have you considered it? And if they have considered it, then we move on and we build what it is that they want us to build. But in an ideal situation, right, especially if you've got some kind of or an agile delivery method or methodology that you're using, then it helps quite a lot, because then if you come to them with that information, have you considered A, B, C, D? It's very easy to pivot or to prioritize different tasks or to bring new tasks to the board. But if they're following a waterfall method or something similar, then yeah, it becomes very challenging.
Ergie Ross is a principal solutionist at Synthesis. He joins us this morning. What struck you most about the culture at Synthesis when you joined?
I would say what struck me most was just how open Synthesis is. There's very little hierarchy.
Yeah.
Leadership is very open to having conversations with everyone in the business, really. You don't get the feel that seniority dictates or impacts the dynamic of the team. It's amazing, for instance, to be able, while Jake was still here before he moved to Israel, to have been able to walk over to him and just have a conversation about culture or whatever work he's busy with, or what I might be busy with, in fact. So I think that's what struck me most, and it really filters down. There's a very strong collaborative culture at Synthesis, which I absolutely love. In my opinion, collaboration is one of the most important elements of a successful business.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I would imagine even more so in the area of a solutionist.
Exactly. Yes, because we collaborate with everyone.
Right.
Really. And it's wonderful as a solutionist to be able to really go to anyone in the company and get assistance, or get them to buy into whatever initiative we're busy with. And I think someone actually mentioned it this morning in our Culture Connect session. It was Tanya. So you don't get the idea at Synthesis that I'm not going to do anything that's not part of my job description. People help out wherever they can, and they're enthusiastic about it. It's not as though you have to twist their arm to assist.
Yeah.
And I just absolutely love that.
So let's just now focus that on the area that you're involved with, which is as a solutionist. First of all, what was your background? Because a solutionist is pretty much a Synthesis word.
Yes.
What were you prior to being a solutionist?
So whenever I answer that question, people tend to be surprised, because I'm actually a chemical engineer.
I'm surprised.
Yes. Yeah. Most people are.
Wow.
I mean, a chemical engineer in software, you don't get that often.
I had no idea.
So I started off in mining, and after working in the Kalahari in a little town called Hartezel for 2 years.
Manganese or iron ore?
Manganese, yes. My wife and I relocated to Johannesburg, and I worked for Clover, the dairy company, for 4 years as a process design engineer, and towards the end as a project engineer. And it was an awesome time. I think as far as chemical engineering goes, you probably won't get closer to using the skills and the knowledge that you learn at university in the working place. But yeah, then Synthesis came across my way, and I thought to myself, well, software really is the future. At that point in time, I was starting to read up a bit on AI and ML. And when the opportunity came and I had my various interviews with Taylor and Tracy and Jake, I just became convinced that this is where my career should be heading. This is what I would like to get involved with. And the solutionist role really spoke to me, because what few people know about chemical engineers is that we are very process-oriented.
Look, it wouldn't shock us to hear that.
Yes, because you have to be.
Right.
It absolutely comes with the territory. And from what I understood from the conversations that I had with people at Synthesis, I would be able to really use those skills and do the work that I love to make a significant contribution to a company that is growing. And because the company is growing, obviously there are many opportunities.
Absolutely. So what would you say is the most valuable characteristic to have, personality trait, as a solutionist?
You have to be dynamic. I know that it's a bit of an ambiguous term. And what I mean by that is you have to be able to pivot on a dime. So you have to embrace ambiguity. You have to be comfortable with uncertainty. And you have to be able to...
It's so interesting because most of us aren't. You know, we are constantly looking for certainty.
Yes.
And sometimes living in uncertainty is very uncomfortable.
For sure, it's part of human nature, right?
Yeah.
We love what is familiar.
Firm ground.
Yeah. Even people that consider themselves to be dynamic, to a certain degree, they want familiarity, they want comfort. There's a reason why there is such a thing as a comfort zone. So I think it's a challenge for anyone to step outside of that comfort zone and to function in an area that is ambiguous and
Right. Well, it's actually quite interesting because it is that connection, the relationship, not connection, between order and chaos, between certainty and uncertainty, where creativity happens. If you look at a musician, they take all the notes and they order it into something. A poet does it with words, a writer does it with words, an artist will do it, and that's what we're doing. But without that chaos and without that uncertainty, there is no creativity.
Yeah, I'd say without chaos and uncertainty, I wouldn't have a job. And if I could just add to that, I think that the culture at Synthesis is really conducive to creativity. So by nature of the work that we do, there is ambiguity and there will be uncertainty because no customer knows exactly what they are dealing with and what they want from the start. Even those who have the most well thought out plans will have to revise at some point. But what's amazing about the Synthesis culture is because we are agile, there's actually space for solutionists and other people who work for the company to be creative, right? We can try things. We can make mistakes and learn and change our approach.
So would you say that your main focus in a business is at the beginning of a project, or then do you manage this process all the way through an entire project?
So we've got a whole project life cycle.
Okay, tell me about that.
So effectively, yes, it's through delivery, mostly, or that's where we started.
Right.
But as we progressed, we've joined into the areas for pre-sales. So how do we see
that's interesting.
from a triage perspective, like, are you triaging based on just technical, or are you triaging based on human qualities? And also, is it a corporate? Is it a startup? Where does this actually land? And then we look at resourcing of that. Who are the correct people? Who works well together? What's a correct dynamic to place within that organization? And then we go into delivery.
So it might well be, when you talk about triage, that you go into a company and they might say, our most important thing is we want to be cloud enabled. But then you look at it and say, actually, it might be what you're saying, but really what you see, what your business needs is focus on this area before we get to that.
Yes. And then also looking at, I mean, what does this mean to the individual? Like we can look at it from a problem solving perspective, from a technical perspective, and go, this is going to save you money. This is going to save you costs from an operational perspective.
Right.
But the solutionist goes in and goes, how is this going to help you as a human? What are your drivers? Who are you? Who are you, the individual? Like, the big example I use is, from a startup perspective, this is their baby. They have everything to lose. From a corporate perspective, we're just consultants.
Right.
It's not the same value that we're going to add to them, depending on what we output. Yeah. And as a solutionist, we're able to see that. We're able to articulate that clearly to even our technical guys internally.
How does one become how did you become a solutionist?
Oh, very long journey to get there.
Yeah, I've got a little bit.
A little bit. Okay, my journey personally. I mean, I started as a call center agent, which is, yes, very exciting if you've ever been a call center agent. Yes.
I would hate to have phoned and had you pick up on the other side.
No, you just say the same thing over. I didn't shout at a single person.
Sorry, I'm
sorry. It was part of my KPIs.
It was uncalled for and I'm sure unfair.
No, I mean, it's totally fair where I am now.
I'm sure people called and asked for you.
Well, no. No, that didn't happen either.
All right. Yeah.
At the back of my mind, with every role that I played, I was like, where's the cause? Where's the root? Where did this start? Like, why are we doing this? I don't understand, why am I doing this? And through that, I just went up one step. So
Incredible.
into, I think one day somebody approached me and they were like, do you want to be a data analyst? I'm like, well,
Sounds cool.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
That's me, data
that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
I mean, what would I do as this data analyst person? And from there, I went into the business analyst profession. I think when I became a senior business analyst, I then looked where to go next. Like, where is the next adventure? 13 years in one company is a long time.
Yes, yeah.
And I found Synthesis. And I joined Synthesis as a business analyst.
I was just going to say, was there a Solutionist team then?
No, there was
Because this
not.
was like 6 years ago, right?
Yeah, so I mean, Darren Back started this whole adventure, and he was the original, the OG business analyst at Synthesis, the only one.
Wow.
And he joined and he did business analysis. He did business analysis work. And he interviewed me, and I joined as the second one. And when I joined, the first thing that occurred to me was, I have no idea what my purpose is here. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. These guys do it, all this business analysis stuff themselves.
It's happening anyway.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, after that, I worked at a company for a couple of years, and eventually we sat down as a team under Darren Back at that point, and we went, are we business analysts? What do we actually do? Like, what is it that we do on a daily basis? And we mapped out all our roles and all our actions. And then we went, okay, so let's define this. Like, what do we call ourselves? And we went through a whole avenue of different names. And we were like, those are so conformed, so restricted. Everybody has an idea of what that is. So let's just come up with something new. Let's just start over. And from that point, we were like, okay, Solutionists it is, because that's what we do, right?
Sense.
We go
Absolutely.
in, we find a solution to
And you're
whatever
continually
problem you
finding
have.
solutions.
Yes. And so we called ourselves Solutionists.
How many people are within the team at the moment?
There are now, at this current point, 30 of us. Yes, 30, including myself, obviously.
Of course. Amazing. Absolutely incredible. And but it's other companies, it's not the same name within other companies.
I don't think anybody has solutionists. They have solutions architect, they have solution developers, they have a whole lot of different solution roles, and they're all technical. So normally, when you hear about solutionists, nobody has a clue what we do.
They do now. Now they do. I'm Howard Feldman. I've been chatting to Tracy Morris. She's the head solutionist at Synthesis Software. Don't forget to subscribe below and send us your questions.